Imagine this. You show up at a restaurant all excited to eat, and right on the door, there's a sign saying something like, "Due to constant disruptions, we are no longer accepting foreign tourists." Sounds harsh, right? But the truth is, this kind of thing is happening more and more often. Japan is literally running out of patience with tourists. And it's not just restaurants. Temples now have guards monitoring visitors, and some cities are even handing out fines for basic disrespectful behavior. The country that was always so welcoming to the entire world is starting to push back. But why? The answer is simple: disrespect.
Sen?
Not from everyone, of course, but from a loud, clueless minority that's staining the reputation of all the other respectful visitors. I'm Lund, and in this video I'll show you exactly why the Japanese are starting to not want tourists anymore. Look, the tourism boom is great for the economy, but it's also brought a wave of behavior that just doesn't match Japanese culture. Think about it. This is a society that deeply values silence, order, and respect for personal space. And suddenly, that space is being invaded. To really understand the first layer of this problem, picture this. Imagine the Tokyo subway during rush hour, one of the most densely populated cities on Earth. Millions of people on the move. You'd expect total chaos, right? But no, it's almost completely silent. No one yelling into their phones, blasting music, or chatting like they're at a bar. People speak quietly or not at all. It's a mutual code of respect. The space belongs to everyone, so no one feels entitled to pollute it with their own noise. Now, imagine that scene being interrupted by a group of tourists, usually TikTokers, who decide that the subway car is the perfect stage for a viral dance, while the locals, just trying to get home after a long day, look away, shrink into corners, and try to escape the camera lenses. It's like two completely different worlds crashing into each other, and Japanese people, in general, won't confront you. They won't shout back. They'll swallow their frustration, quietly step aside, and think to themselves, "That was incredibly rude." That quiet frustration builds. There are even flyers online that say things like, "Japan is not a theme park," or "This is not a circus." And this extends to the streets too. For example, eating while walking might seem normal to us, but in many areas, especially traditional ones, it's considered impolite. Not just because of the act itself, but because it often leads to something they truly hate: trash. Japan barely has public trash cans because the cultural norm is that everyone takes their garbage home and disposes of it properly. So when they see a tourist eating and tossing their packaging on the ground, it's genuinely offensive. No one appreciates a guest who disrespects and messes up their home. It might seem small, but these little breaches of etiquette, when repeated thousands of times a day by thousands of tourists, wear down people's patience. But the problem doesn't stop there. It gets a lot more serious when the disrespect goes beyond convenience and starts touching what's sacred. We've seen how daily disruptions are already annoying, but when that lack of awareness invades what's culturally sacred, that's when Japanese patience truly runs out. And the best place to see that is in Kyoto, especially in the neighborhoods where geishas work. First off, let's clear up a common misconception. Geishas and their apprentices, the Maiko, are not dressed up tourist attractions for photo ops. They're artists, professionals who dedicate their lives to preserving a Japanese tradition. Most of the time, they're simply on their way to work. There are videos of tourists chasing after geishas, surrounding them, blocking their paths, even shoving phones in their faces for pictures, without asking. One geisha even filed a complaint with the city, saying she just wanted to get to work in peace. It got so out of control that Kyoto officials had to put up signs begging tourists to stop harassing geishas. And if they treat people this way, imagine how they treat places. Temples and shrines in Japan are deeply respected. There are rules, etiquette. It's a space for peace. But for some visitors, it's just a pretty backdrop. There was a case where a Chilean influencer went viral for the wrong reasons after doing pull-ups on a torii gate, a sacred symbol in Shinto religion. Others have been caught carving their names into centuries-old wooden structures. And this disrespect isn't limited to places or people. It even extends to animals like the famous deer of Nara. In case you didn't know, the deer in Nara aren't just animals in a park. They're considered messengers of the gods, a sacred symbol of the city. There's a beautiful tradition. You buy a special cracker called Shika Senbei. Bow to the deer, they bow back, and then you give them the treat as a sign of respect. But what do many tourists do? They ignore all of that. They feed them random snacks, bread, chips, junk food that can make them sick. They tease the deer, waving the crackers around, hiding them until the animal gets frustrated and headbutts them. Some people chase the deer, pull their antlers, even try to ride them. What's supposed to be a peaceful symbol of harmony between humans and nature is now becoming a health, safety, and preservation issue. And these aren't isolated cases. People climb into restricted areas, touch artifacts they're not supposed to, break basic rules. Each of these acts is like a slap in the face to Japanese culture. And when you add it all up, the chaos on the trains, the street littering, the harassment of geishas, the vandalized temples, you start to understand why signs saying no tourists allowed are popping up more and more. But there's still one last level. The level of the person who isn't just disrespectful out of ignorance, but who turns disrespect into content. The kind of person who went so far that they became a symbol of everything Japan no longer wants. And this story centers around one guy, an American streamer known as Johnny Somali. This guy wasn't just clueless, he made it his brand to disrespect Japan. His thing was live streaming himself in public places like trains and restaurants, blasting loud, often offensive messages that his followers sent him. He filmed himself annoying people for fun, thinking it was hilarious. But then he took it even further. He started mocking Japan's biggest historical traumas like Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Hiroshima Nagasaki was a good thing.
He thought he was untouchable. Even said in a video that nothing would happen to him because he was American, but Japanese patience, while long, has its limits. He started getting recognized on the streets. Locals confronted him. There was even a moment where a group forced him to kneel and apologize in public. Still, he didn't stop until one day he trespassed on a construction site and started harassing the workers. That was the last straw. The police were called. He was arrested for real. He was tried, fined, and ultimately banned from Japan. Johnny Somali became the face of everything Japanese people are tired of tolerating. And it's because of stories like his and all the smaller ones happening every day that Japan is starting to react. The government is putting up more educational signs, restricting access to certain areas, and handing out heavier fines. And as we saw at the beginning, some business owners are making the drastic decision to just ban tourists altogether. Sure, tourism brings money and boosts the economy, but it also comes with a social cost, the loss of peace, the erosion of historical spaces. So the question is, how far is too far? And honestly, This debate goes way beyond Japan. It's happening in Venice, in Barcelona, in many places suffering from over-tourism. It's the big paradox of modern travel. At the end of the day, you can't blame a country for wanting to protect its culture and way of life. But now, I really want to know what you think. Do you believe Japan is right to take these measures even if it affects the economy? Or do you think tourism, even with its flaws, is a necessary evil and locals should be more tolerant?